I'd like to call to order the City of Lake Forest District 67 Board of Education meeting for April 23rd, 2019. May we have a roll call, please, Eileen?
Before I do the roll call, just want to let you know that Mrs. Levert will not be here and Mr. Ford will not be here, but we will have enough people. Mr. Falker?
Here.
Mrs. Sands?
Here.
Mr. Borkowski?
Here.
Dr. Lemke?
Here.
Mr. Novitt?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight is the last time that this specific board will have a regular board meeting, as we will be seating 2 new board members next Monday night. While we will be having a reception before next Monday's meeting to honor these 2 board members who are rolling off the board, I'd like to briefly recognize them tonight as well. Tom Ford, who's not here, and Kent Novitt have served this board for the past 4 years, and I think I speak for all of my fellow board members when I say they both have provided great value to School District 67. Tom served on the Finance and Operations Committee for all 4 years of his term, serving as the chair for the past 2. He also served on the Compensation Committee all 4 years, chairing that committee for 2 years. As well, Tom served as the board's legislative liaison, regularly providing the board valuable updates on legislative matters. Meanwhile, Kent served on the Policy Committee for all 4 of his years, including chairing that committee the last 2 years. Kent was also a valuable member of the Finance and Operations Committee his entire term, and he also served as the secretary of this board. But Kent and Tom provided so much more to this board than their service on specific committees. This board strongly believes in open dialogue on the issues that we face, and Tom and Kent always participated in these conversations, and they always helped us achieve better results than we would have without their participation. Tom and Kent also helped shape both the culture and the philosophy that our board has. Tom's fiscal philosophy and thoughts on students' behavior were major influences in how this board viewed those topics. And Kent, while often sitting back and letting others speak first on topics, would very often quietly ask some of the most insightful questions, helping this board get at the real issues at hand and helping us make better decisions. On a personal note, one of the benefits of serving on this board has been developing relationships with people that I might not otherwise have known. I didn't know Tom or Kent particularly well prior to them joining this board. 4 years later, I consider myself lucky to call both of you friends. Tom and Kent, thank you both for your outstanding service. You have served School District 67 and the community at large very well. We will miss you both. Thank you very much.
Brief comment. Mike, I was going to save my speech for our meeting next week, and it'll be very long and pointed, and I'll probably be written up for numerous things I say, but thank you for your kind words. I truly don't deserve them. Serving on the board has been an experience for me that's been very positive, and where I am reserved, it's because the other board members are so great, and they work hard and they dedicate so much time. I follow in your wake. It's been a great experience.
I would also like to recognize Kent for learning over the last 4 years to press his button down when talking into the microphone. It's not. Oh, mine is mine. Oh.
Mine is.
Hot mic. I withdraw my earlier comment.
All right. Well, thank you, Kent, and thanks, Tom, who's not here tonight. We now move on to the Superintendent's Report. Mike?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. So I wanted to share with the board and also with anyone that is watching. This is a new technology that we are exploring, and I wanted to show you some of the results that we have gotten with this. This is called Thought Exchange, and it is surveying, if you will, taken to a very different level. So I've talked about this in prior reports, but now we actually have some results to show you on how it actually worked in practice. So there are 3 parts. This is an email that went out several weeks ago. At first, you can share your thoughts. We ask an open-ended question, and you can share your thoughts, and then you can star 1 through 5 stars and rate your thoughts and thoughts by other people. And then finally you can discover what the results were of people's participation. And so what you do is you click on the link at the bottom. It pulls up a screen where you have to put in some demographic information. So I will click my way through that, and I will say no to this. I'll say I don't have a student here, and I don't have a student. Unfortunately, I don't have kids in the district anymore. I have one at the high school. So our question is, what are the aspects of our learning environment that are working well, or spaces, time, tools, and technology, and what things can we improve? And the exchange is now closed, but what we can do is we can see the results of these things. So these are the 3 things we can toggle through, which is to share, and star, and discover. And one of the questions that we got from showing this to parents was, hey, can I go straight from sharing to discovering, or can I just go straight to discovering? And by clicking up on these things, you can jump around. However, if you would rather look and see what everybody else is saying first, you can do that first. But these are the top rated pieces of information that we got. We've had 191 people that participated. We had 117 individual thoughts that were shared. And we had people rate 2,040 different items. So I think one of the things that we're going to be doing with this is evaluating our mission, vision, milestones, whether this is how this is working for our parents and our staff and our students, and our ability to get people in a room, ask them to come to a forum. We would get 20 or 30 people. Certainly we would not get 191 unique users or individuals to come to that. So the number 1 rated item that we have is that that they're glad to see more emphasis on social and interpersonal skills, and this received a very, very high rating. Another one, more recess without electronics, and so there's a little bit of a theme here. Commitment to co-teaching is wonderful. Equipping rooms with appropriate tech equipment and space is a challenge to work through. Also highly rated, so you can skim down through all the various ratings here. By the demographic information that's presented, we can slice and dice this. We can look at what did our staff say, what have our students said, what are parents at Deer Path, what is their feedback, what about elementary parents, and see what is hot and what is not. We'll follow this up with another thought exchange either late this week or early next week on another topic, again related to our mission, vision, and milestones. And so we are, certainly the training wheels are on. We do not want to overuse this, but we do want to use this for a specific purpose. And so we're finding our way through this. We suspect that if we don't overuse it, we will wind up having pretty robust response to this. Once parents try it and see how easy it is to utilize it, I think they'll wind up whipping right through whatever our question happens to be. Also very pleased to hear that our parent groups are eager to utilize this as well for their meetings. So our APT presidents right away said, okay, so how can we use that for our meeting? So are we allowed to do that? And the answer to that is yes. Anybody that's affiliated in any way with our district, whether it's a building principal, an APT leader, or what have you, can utilize the same technology. So for everything from creating meeting agendas to asking what things should we have, what topics should we have in our meetings for next year, or what have you. You can send a quick thing out and get quick feedback on it. So watch for more on this in the coming weeks and months. Thank you.
Mike, quick question.
Yeah.
So I know that one of the potential benefits that you talked to in various parent organizations that you spoke with was this might provide a better vehicle for community member input.
Right.
So curiously, of the 191 inputs, how many of those were from community members potentially with no kids at the schools?
I don't know the answer to that. Ann might know that off the top of her head.
And
This was-
just to add on that, I'm thinking of the key influencer
Our key communicators.
emails that you've been sending out, which I think are great.
Right. This one was our first thought exchange, so we really piloted it somewhat internally. So we did it with staff and parents only. And now we can extend this to our key communicators, but there were a couple little bumps in this one, and we felt like we didn't want to reach out to over 500 community members if there were a couple little, hiccups that we wanted to work out, which we were able to work out in this one. And what I can do now is on our next key communicator, because we've been sending those out every couple weeks, 3 weeks, it will be the same one, and then we can get a response and then commingle the two. So it was a bit of a trial, this first one, too. And then also, I've been working with all the building principals have been trained with this, and it could be extended to students as well. This one was not extended to students at this time. As I say, we felt like our first experiment with this should not be the world, but rather keep it somewhat internal so we could mitigate if there were any problems.
Any other questions for the superintendent?
So, Ann, based on what you just said, sorry, with the key communicators, is there any feedback loop built into that, or is it just an outgoing communication? I just can't remember.
We did a pre-survey, basically, asking for topics, and then we also have May 1st coming up face-to-face with a superintendent's roundtable that they'll all be, it's not May 1st, it's in May, I'm sorry, it's a different meeting, May 1st. So we're inviting them to come in face-to-face, and then will be some post-testing, if you will, about the types of things that we are communicating about and if they've learned anything new about the district. But we're going to start using this thought exchange with the community members as well.
And at some point, are we going to get sort of an overview update on sort of open rates or what's happening with sort of all of this collectively, so we can look summatively, like what's
Right.
like a full update? Because I don't always look at each of the emails myself individually.
They're in the update, I've been providing a little bit of information, but I'm keeping the year long, and then that will be in the final report. Some of it was in the strategic plan update, but each of these products, I'm keeping a running log to see what's happening there. The other thing that we have to be considerate of is when some of these questions to send to the outside community, they will have no knowledge of. So we have to be careful, either we reposition the question or it's a different question. We even have to be a little bit careful when we're looking at our mission, vision, and goals. Sometimes our staff will know about assessments or teaching practices where our parents may not be able to answer it because they're not firsthand having the experience with a teacher that a child would have. So it's just, we have to be careful that the questions suit the audiences that we're reaching out to. Did that answer?
Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts? Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ann. We now move on to public participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none, we move on to admin reports. I do not believe there are any admin reports.
Not this month.
Fantastic. We move on to board reports. We'll start off with Board of Education, chaired by Jeff.
The Education Committee did not meet this past month. Our next meeting, I believe, is it Friday the 9th or Thursday? It's the second week in May.
Thank you, Jeff. We move on to Board Finance and Operations. Tom is not here tonight. Has he asked anyone? Yep. Rob is going to give the report in his place.
Yeah, so finance met. We talked a lot about the year-end projections, the budget update. Got a little information on capital projects. Fairly typical meeting. I guess there's going to be turnover in community members, board members, starting next week. We'll see what happens there. We may or may not meet in June. But anyway.
Questions or comments?
Can I say, yeah, we have one. So theoretically, this might be my last report as chair of the Education Committee, because with the new board, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. So with that in mind, even though I may do the report in May, I do want to thank our community members who have been serving on the Education Committee for the last 2 years. Paul Best, Julia Gleet, and Umang Singh have done an absolutely fabulous job of representing the community, providing insight, asking excellent questions, and really representing this district exceptionally well. in helping the board members, Suzanne, Alice, and I, make sure that we are focused on the right things and helping the administration focus on the right things going forward. So I just want to make sure they're officially and appropriately recognized.
They've been outstanding.
Okay, thank you. We move on to policy committees. Kent?
And sadly, I didn't get the opportunity to have one last policy meeting, but there's nothing on schedule right now.
Well, you have a few more days.
We'll have one coming up soon. Kent, would you like to come back?
I think we could fit one in.
All right. In honor of you, we'll take no questions. We'll move on to compensation committee.
Compensation has not met.
Let's move on to liaison reports. NSSED, Suzanne.
So there was a lot in my report that I'm not going to go through. I think the big work at NSSED right now is putting together a budget for next year. And they really started with the draft one budget with where they just literally just plug in if almost everything stayed the same except enrollment and the salaries go up the way they will, what's the outcome? And they started with a $1.4 million deficit by just doing that. And so they've had to work their way. How do you solve that problem? They've been talking to all the superintendents. They've been talking to all the CSBOs. They've been talking to they've been talking to our table and their finance committee. And they ended up coming to well, we're going to have to take a little bit from sort of everywhere. We're going to do some of it through some cutting. We're going to do some of it through looking at membership fees, and we're going to do some of it looking at tuition. For the past 3 years, except in a couple of programs where the cost of those programs was significantly off from the tuition. The membership fees have not changed in that same period of time either. And so they have come up with somewhat of a proposal. We were thinking, and then they usually take it on the road, and they go and they meet with the superintendents, and they meet with the CSPOs, and they meet with the special ed directors to see, is everybody going to be okay with this? Because these tuition things and the membership fees, those things impact all of our budgets. And so I don't know what it will finally shake out as and what the outcome will be. So I will be coming back to you with that. But in my report was some of what they were proposing. And they really have done a ton of work with their entire administrative team to look at every place that they spend money and say, do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? How can we save here? And they've really put in the time to do a good job. They know what they really need is a new financial model of how they get revenue because of some of the shifts that are being made with how we serve kids and what the best way to serve kids is, because a lot of their revenue was coming through tuition. And with enrollment in their programs going down, because it's better for kids to stay in their districts if they possibly can, that shifts what they can offer districts in terms of services, but they don't have a good model for charging for that stuff. So that is the big work of next year, and hopefully once that gets figured out, it will make the budgeting process less daunting for them.
Thanks, Suzanne. Questions for Suzanne on NSSED?
Real quick, when you brought that up about tuition declines because people are staying in their home district, has overall attendance or the student population within SED, has that been decreasing over time?
Yes, significantly. So I can shoot you if you want to see the ADE, so they measure their enrollment in average daily enrollment because their enrollment changes from month to month. Kids leave programs, kids come into programs, so they measure it, whereas we don't usually have that much fluctuation. And so I can send you the chart that shows, but even over like a 10-year period, it's been going down. But in recent years, because of some of these discussions and the way that we're talking about it, some big chunks have gone away quickly, and that's really sort of pushed the pressure on having some of these discussions. But losing the CSBO role and some other personnel issues within their business office have made developing the financial model a not possibility for this year. And so that's why when the new person gets into place, that's going to be the priority work. And so this year's budget is more of a, we need to have something that gets us through next year.
Thank you. Any other questions for Suzanne? Thanks, Suzanne. Legislative Liaison Tom is not here. I do not believe that he filed a report. Spirit of 67, Suzanne.
Okay, so I have a lot to say about this one because it was an exciting time in the Spirit of 67 recently. They held their annual meeting on Tuesday, April 9th. Family participation district-wide is just over 67%, which anyone who's been involved with the Spirit is in awe. And that includes all 3 elementaries are at a participation rate of 80% or higher. So all 3 of them are going to get a $1,000 Founders Grant next year, and DPM is at 60% of families participating as donors. Grant Day was April 16th. It was an exciting time around the district. The grant committee spent the day traveling around, sharing news about 33 grants valued at $174,000 being funded next year. The grants include the APT's K-8 Fine Arts presentations, which there are a whole bunch of them, the Visiting Author programs at all grade levels as well as Visiting Scientist program for kindergarten through 4th grade. DPM's Fine Arts Department is being granted an orchestra composer in residence, new and improved choir risers, expansions to the portable sound and lighting systems, as well as a digital piano for general music, and a collection of instruments for the Spirit Studio, which was a grant last year, that's located off of the cafeteria. In addition to the Barrel of Monkeys writing workshop for 4th graders, which is returning again this year, DPM students will have the opportunity to work with a comic artist in residence to write their own comics. And the Haskins Center, as a part of that grant, will acquire a collection of graphic novels, comics, and how-to books to support the project. While the 8th graders will get to participate in a Ragdale writing workshop pilot. Blue Stem and Monarch books will be purchased for all K-4 buildings. Those are book award books that are nominees, and the kids read them and then vote on them. And the DPM version of that is the Rebecca Caudle Young Readers books. That's a recurring grant. Both are. DPM Science Department will be getting a collection of lab equipment, including microscope cameras, DNA discovery kits, spectrum tubes, planetariums, and more. The new equipment will also be provided for the DPM garden. To support STEAM efforts, K-4 buildings will be getting additional rigamajig kits and breakout EDU boxes. At DPM, the robotics team will be getting additional robot kits, and the STEM program will be acquiring something called Raspberry Pi, which I'm pretty sure none of you know what that is, but it's a little tiny computer that you can code with and have it interact with other things to make stuff happen. It's like a little motherboard sort of thing. I've looked at it. I've read the website. I still don't fully understand what it does, but I don't need to. The STEM teacher knows, and she's awesome at helping the kids, and they probably already know too. The Dragon Dance will again be brought to Cherokee to enhance the Chinese New Year celebration, while DPM Mandarin classes will have Wiki lessons, I think is how you say it, or Weiqi, which is like a strategy game. All DPM World Language classrooms will have classroom sets of 2-sided whiteboard paddles to increase student engagement in lessons. Also, I believe the Lake Forest Lake Bluff LDA has contributed some of those. So it's sort of a cooperative effort to get those into the classrooms. Flamenco Chicago will visit during World Language Week. Bike desks will be added to the Cube and the Haskins Center. What is a bike desk, you ask? It is literally a stationary bike with a desk on it that kids will be able to go in and use in Haskins and the Cube. The DPM Fitness Center will be getting 10 new pre-core spin bikes to expand their offerings in the fitness center. To support social emotional wellness, all K-4 buildings will receive a collection of picture books that cover topics aligned with the curriculum. And all teachers in all buildings will have access to a program called Calm Classroom, both their manuals and their audio recordings to support students in their efforts around self-management. This year, one of our DPM 7th graders wrote a grant requesting diversity training and education for students at DPM. This grant will bring in Inquest Consulting, which educates youth and adults about respect and embracing differences in fun and interactive ways, to do on-site interviews and focus groups with students and staff aimed at developing customized workshops and all school assemblies to help lead to a happier, healthier, safer, and more inclusive school environment at DPM. Also, the Board of Directors was, the next year's Board of Directors slate was elected, and Kimberly Karras was elected to serve as the new Spirit of 67 Foundation Board President. The rest of the org chart was shared out with all of you. Casino night is April 26th, this Friday from 7 to 10. Isn't that Friday? Yeah. At Ferrari Lake Forest. And more can be learned about that on the Spirit of 67 website. Their next board meeting will be Tuesday, May 14th.
Thank you, Suzanne. Questions for Suzanne on the Spirit? See, now we move on to Executive APT, Jeff.
The APT Executive Board met at the West Campus back on Wednesday, May 10th. At that meeting, Mike and Ann discussed Thought Exchange and got some feedback from the parent organization as they talked about this evening. Coming up, we've got our incoming, outgoing board meeting scheduled for Wednesday, May 1st. Also, Family Share Night is this week, this Thursday night, across all of the, at least the elementary buildings. Staff Appreciation Week will be coming up the second week in May, May 6th through the 10th, so be on the lookout for information on that. Our Community Service Committee is having a new Schools Out not fundraiser, but Schools Out charity event. And historically, there's been an end-of-year school supply drive. This year, they're actually going to have a Schools Out food drive that will benefit the North Chicago Community Partners Care Closet. That will be also the week of May 6th through the 10th. Food will be collected during that week, and then the North Chicago Community Partners will come down on Friday the 10th and pick all that up. So look for your Friday flyers as information about who's bringing what in what buildings and grades and so forth will be coming out then. And then lastly, coming up in the next couple of weeks, the annual Jump Start to fifth grade panel session for parents whose kids are coming to Deer Path for the first time will be held on Tuesday, May 7th from 9 to 11 a.m. That's it.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions regarding the APT for Jeff? Seeing none, we move on to our second time for public participation. If there's any member of the public that would like to address the board, please go to the podium. Seeing none, we move on to action items. First up, may I have a motion to approve the Shared Service Administrator 2019-2020 compensation recommendation as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments, discussion on this? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, may I have a motion to approve Kent Novit as Secretary Pro Tem and to adopt the resolution authorizing non-reemployment of full-time teacher, non-tenured teacher Evan Diakomakis, authorized by the President and Secretary Pro Tem.
Okay. So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions, discussion on this? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, may I have a motion to approve the auditor 3-year contract in the amount of $23,500 for 2019, $24,200 for years 2020 and 2021, and if a single audit is required, an additional $2,500 for 2019, $2,600 for years 2020 and 21.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion?
I would just like to recognize Rob and Alice for their work in working with the administration to put together this recommendation. So thank you guys for doing that.
Jen, just for the public, can you tell us who we're approving? It's Miller Cooper?
Miller Cooper, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to reject the Cherokee insulation bid?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions, discussion? Mike or Jen, you want to say a few words about this?
Sure, we still intend to get this work done this summer. We basically went out to bid to do some insulation work here, or not here, but at Cherokee Elementary. We only received one bid, and it was about $150,000 higher than expected. So in kind of detailing that and digging a little deeper, they called the work fussy work, meaning in order to get to the actual work, they have to take down all of the ceiling and then do the work and then put it all back up. So what we did is the new specification that's out on the street now is we're actually going to try to complete that work in-house by removing all of the ceiling tiles and doing that prep work before they get there. They can come just do their actual installation work, and then we'll put it back up. So we'll still need to put our manpower together, or maybe it's student power, whatever it may end up to be, because it's a very short period of time to get it done and back up. But I think then in this case, we should get more bids, and we also should get bids that are more in line with our budget.
So if I heard you right, we're still planning on doing this summer, and likely we'll be voting on something next month.
Yes, we have a new spec back on the street right now.
Other questions? Great, thank you. Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Deer Path Middle School painting project bid in the amount of $55,750?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, may I have a motion to approve Quest Food Service contract renewal in the amount of $56,410?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion on this item? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Deer Path Middle School abatement in the amount of $38,750?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Jen, can you just briefly say what the abatement is?
Sure, it's removing asbestos contained in mastic that is behind some of our whiteboards. It's been contained, so it's been safe. But as we continue to reimagine our classrooms and want to use the flexibility of the space, we need to get these old boards down, get the asbestos removed so that we can continue to renovate.
Thank you. Other questions or comments?
So this is a mastic issue, not necessarily tiles and things most people think of when they think of.
Really like the glue, yeah, that sits behind there and how they're adhered to the wall. And we tested all of the boards, all of the older boards, obviously, and not all of them had it, so it must have been a certain point in time where they were using glue that did contain asbestos.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the human resources items as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We now move to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. Items on the consent agenda. Approval of disbursements, payrolls, and financial statements dated March 2019. Minutes of a regular meeting and workshop dated March 19th, 2019. Minutes of an executive session dated March 19, 2019. Disposal of audio recordings June 27th, 2017. Would any board member like to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the consent agenda? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We move on to FOIA requests. We had 4 in the last month. They are U.M. Schabacher from Copel, resident, status complete. Milou Landscaping, commercial, status complete. NBC5, commercial status complete. Chicagoland construction, commercial status complete.
Could you say those again?
Yes, I mispronounced the first one. The first one was from U.M. Schabacher-Koppel, who is a resident, and the status is complete. I apologize. Announcements. Thursday, April 25th, Sheridan, Everett, and Cherokee Sharing Night, 6:30 to 7:15. Friday, April 26th, Spirit of 67 event, Bet on 67 Casino Night, 7 to 10 p.m. at the Ferrari dealership in Lake Forest. Tuesday, April 30th, Old Board, New Board meeting, 7 p.m. at West Campus Boardroom. And Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. at West Campus Boardroom. Kent, your final meeting. Would you like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I never want it to end.
Okay. We'll have to find someone else to make the motion then. Would someone else make the motion to adjourn this meeting?
I think he'll make
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Kent. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.